Okay, so this is Harry Potter, Keeper of the Keys, Part 2. Gulp and gargoyles, Harry. People still are scared. Blimey, this is difficult. See, there was a wizard who went bad. As bad as you could go. Worse. Worse than worse. His name was Haggard Gulp, but no words came out. Could you write it down? Harry suggested. Nah, I can't spell it. All right, Voldemort. Haggard shuddered. Don't make me say it again. Anyway, this wizard, about 20 years ago, started looking for followers, and he got 'em too. Some were afraid, some wanted a bit of his power, because he was getting power himself all right. Dark days, Harry, and didn't know who to trust, didn't dare get friendly with strange wizards or witches. Terrible things happened. He was taking over. Of course, someone had to stand up for them, and he killed him. Horribly. One with the safe places left was Hogwarts. Reckon Dumbledore, only you-know-who, was afraid of. Didn't dare try taking the school, not just then anyway. Now your mom and your dad were as good as a witch and wizard I ever knew. Head boy and girl at Hogwarts in their day. Suppose the mystery is why you-know-who never ever tried to get them on his side before. Probably because he knew they were too close to Dumbledore to want anything to do with the dark side. Maybe he thought he could persuade them. Maybe he just wanted them out of the way. All anyone knows is he turned up in the village where you-know-who was living on Halloween night 10 years ago, and you were just 1 year old, and he came to your house and Hagrid suddenly pulled out a very dirty, spotted handkerchief and blew his nose that sounded like a foghorn. Sorry, he said, but it's sad. You know, your mom and your dad and nice people, you couldn't find anyway. You know who killed them, and then the real mystery of the thing, he tried to kill you too. He wanted to make a clean job of it, I suppose, or maybe he just liked killing by then, but he couldn't do it. Never ever wondered how you got that mark on your forehead? That's no ordinary cut. That's where you got a powerful evil curse that touches you. And it took your mom and dad and your house but even it didn't work on you. And that's why you're famous. No one ever lived after he decided to kill them. No one except you, and he had killed some of the best witches and wizards of the age. The McKinnons, the Bones, the Pruitts, and you was just a baby, and you lived. Something very painful was going on in Harry's mind. As Hagrid's story came to a close, he saw a blinding flash of green light, more clearly than he had ever seen before. He remembered something for the first time in his life, a high, cruel laugh. Hagrid was watching him sadly. It took you from your ruined house myself on Dumbledore's order and brought you to this lot. Oh, load of old tosh, said Uncle Vernon. Harry jumped. He had almost forgotten the Dursleys were there. Uncle Vernon. He was glaring at Hagrid, and his fists were clenched. Now, you listen here, boy, he snarled. I accept there's some strange thing about you. Probably nothing but a good beating wouldn't have cured. And as for your parents, well, they were weirdos, no denying it. The world's better off without them, in my opinion. Ask what they got for. Getting mixed up with all these wizarding types. Just what I expected. Always knew they'd come out on the sticky end. But at that moment, Hagrid leapt from the sofa and drew a battered pink umbrella from inside of his coat. Pointing at Uncle Vernon like a sword, he said, I'm warning you, Dursley, I'm warning you. One more word. In danger of being speared on the end of a giant umbrella by a bearded giant, Uncle Vernon's courage failed again. He flattened himself against the wall and fell silent. That's better, said Hagrid, breathing heavily, sitting back against the sofa, which this time sagged right down to the floor. Meanwhile, Harry had questions to ask, hundreds of them. But what happened to you-know-who? Good question, Harry. Disappeared, vanished. The same night he tried to kill you. Makes you even more famous. That's the mystery. He was getting more and more powerful. And then where did he go? Some say he died. I don't believe it, in my opinion. Don't know if he had enough human left in him to die. Some say he's still out there and biding his time. But I don't believe it. People who were on his side came back to ours, and some of them came out of their trances. I don't reckon they could have done if he was coming back. Most of us still reckon he's still out there somewhere, but lost his powers, too weak to carry on. 'Cause something about you, Harry, finished him. There was something going on that night he hadn't counted on. I don't know what it was. Nobody does. But something about you stumped him all right. Hagrid looked at Harry with warmth and respect blazing in his eyes. But Harry, instead of feeling pleased and proud, felt quite sure there had been a horrible mistake. A wizard? Him? How could it possibly be? He had spent most of his life being hit by Dudley, bullied by Aunt Petunia and Uncle Vernon, and if he was really a wizard, why hadn't he turned them into warty toes every time they tried to lock him into the cupboard? If he once defeated the greatest sorcerer in the world, how come Dudley had always been managed to kick him around like a football? Hagrid, he said quietly, I think you must have made a mistake. I don't think I could be a wizard. To his surprise, Hagrid chuckled. Not a wizard, eh? Never made anything happen when you were angry or scared? Harry looked into the fire. Now he came to think about it. Every odd thing that had ever made his aunt and uncle furious with him had happened when he, Harry, had been upset or angry. Chased by Dudley's gang, he had somehow found himself out of their reach, dreading going to school with that ridiculous haircut. He had managed to make it grow back, and the very last time Dudley hit him, hadn't he gotten his revenge without even realizing he was doing it? Hadn't he set a boa constrictor on him? Harry looked back at Hagrid, smiling, and saw that Hagrid was positively beaming at him. See, said Hagrid, Harry Potter, not a wizard. You wait, you'll be famous at Hogwarts. See, said Hagrid. But Uncle Vernon wasn't going to give in without a fight. Haven't I told you he's not going, he hissed. He's going to Stonewall High, and he'll be grateful for it. I've read those letters, and he needs all sort of rubbish, spell books and wands, and if he wants to go, a great muggle like yourself won't stop him, growled Hagrid. Stop Lily and James Potter's son from going to Hogwarts? You're mad. His name's been down ever since he was born. He's off to the finest school of witchcraft and wizardry in the world. 7 years there, and he won't know himself. He'll be with youngsters of his own sorts for a change, and he'll be under the greatest headmaster Hogwarts have ever had, Albus Dumbledore. I'm not paying for some crackpot to teach him magic tricks, yelled Uncle Vernon. But finally he had gone too far. Hagrid seized his umbrella and whirled it over his head and thundered, Insult Albus Dumbledore said, Never insult Albus Dumbledore in front of me. He brought the umbrella swishing down through the air and pointed it at Dudley. There was a flash of violet light, and the sound like a crack of firecracker, and a sharp squeal, and the next second Dudley was dancing on the spot with his hands clasped over his fat bottom, howling in pain. When he turned his back on them, Harry saw a curly pig's tail poking through a hole in his trousers. Uncle Vernon roared. Aunt Petunia and Uncle Vernon roared. Pulling Aunt Petunia and Uncle Dudley into the room, he cast one terrified look at Hagrid and slammed the door behind them. Hagrid looked down at his umbrella and stroked his beard. Shouldn't lost me temper, he said ruefully, but it didn't work anyway. Me meant to turn him into a pig, I suppose, but he was so much like a pig anyway, there wasn't much left to do. He cast a sideway look at Harry under his bushy eyebrows. Be grateful if you didn't mention to anyone at Hogwarts, he said. I'm not supposed to do magic, strictly speaking. I wasn't allowed to do it only to get you and to get your stuff, so I was keen to take on the job. Why aren't you supposed to do magic? Asked Harry. Oh, well, when I was at Hogwarts myself, I got expelled, to tell you the truth. And in my 3rd year, they snapped my wand in half and everything. But Dumbledore let me stay on as gamekeeper. Great man, Dumbledore. Why were you expelled? Well, it's getting late. We got a lot to do tomorrow, said Hagrid loudly. Getting up, we got to get to town and get all your books and that. He took off his thick black coat and threw it on to Harry. You can stay under that a bit. And don't mind if it wrinkles a bit. I think it's still got a couple of dormice in one of the pockets. Okay, so this is the last page in the book, and then I have some questions and I have movie clips to follow. 1 minute until Harry Potter's 11th birthday. What time is it? Can you see the watch? Harry Potter drew a cake in the dirt for himself. He was feeling sad. What are the clues to his feelings? Who is about to break the door down? What is scaring Dudley? The Dursleys look scared. Why? Harry meets Hagrid for the first time. Who is Hagrid? How does he feel? What does he think? Hagrid gives Harry a birthday cake. What happens to the cake? Harry learns he's a wizard. How does he feel? What is his emotion? Hagrid tells Harry who he is and what titles he holds. Who is Hagrid and what is his title or role? The Dursleys try to stop Harry from going away to Hogwarts. What type of school is Hogwarts? Dudley eats Harry's birthday cake. What happens? Angry that Dudley ate Harry's birthday cake, Hagrid gave Dudley a tail. What type of tail did Hagrid give Dudley? Hagrid and Harry prepare to leave for Hogwarts as Dudley runs upstairs with his new tail. Write your answers to my questions, take a photo, and send them back to me on Talking Points. Okay, happy days.